Okay, let's unpack this. You sent us some fascinating material, an article diving into a really unique experience on the Kumano-Kodo Trail in Japan.
Yeah.
It explores this blend of, well, ancient sacred paths,
hmm
nature, cutting-edge AI, and the very idea of work itself.
That's right. The core concept in the source material is what the author calls an AI workation.
AI workation again.
Yeah, essentially combining walking a sacred pilgrimage trail, the Kumano Kodo, with actively working alongside an AI agent on a smartphone.
Wow.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really understand the claims made in the article. You know, how this combination reportedly boosts creativity and productivity,
Right.
the kind of spiritual experiences encountered, and maybe what this could potentially mean for how we think about working and living down the line.
It sounds like quite the fusion mountain paths, AI assistance, and I saw something about dragon god clouds. This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
It definitely does.
Let's jump straight into the author's experience. Where does it start?
So it all kicks off with the setting. We're on the Kumano Kodo Trail in Japan, one of those really ancient, sacred pilgrimage routes.
Okay.
The author specifically began their journey on the trail from Takijiri, heading towards Takahara Kumano Shrine.
And this wasn't just like a walk followed by work later. The really new idea here is the combination, right? Working while walking?
Exactly. While walking in this sacred, natural environment, using an AI agent basically as a collaborative partner right there on the trail.
So how did that actually work, the process?
Well, the process described is pretty specific. The author used an AI agent called Manus
Manus, okay.
via a smartphone app. While they were walking, they'd vocalize or type in instructions for Manus, giving it tasks like drafting event proposals or, say, press releases.
So you're literally hiking, taking in the forest air, and dictating work stuff to your phone. That's quite an image.
It really is. And the workflow was built into the walk itself. They'd reach a rest point, check what the AI had generated,
Right.
make edits, give new instructions, and then just keep walking. It sort of turns the pilgrimage stops into these little micro work sessions.
Okay, so the big question then is the impact. The claims about creativity and productivity sound pretty significant.
Oh, they definitely are. The author reported feeling this immediate massive boost, said productivity felt double, maybe even triple, compared to their normal desk work.
Double or triple? Wow, that's a bold claim. It makes you stop and think.
Yeah, and the article tries to unpack why this might have happened. There are a few theories presented.
Okay, like what?
Well, one focuses on the environment itself, the act of walking in nature.
The classic clear your head outside thing.
Kind of, but maybe more specific.
Yeah.
The author mentions fresh air, negative ions, phytoncides from the trees.
Those things plants release, right?
Yeah,
Supposedly good for you.
exactly. The idea is that these things helped activate their brain, maybe enhance creative output.
Makes intuitive sense, I suppose. What else?
They also felt the physical rhythm of walking somehow synced up with their thinking process.
Huh. Like the steady pace helps structure their thoughts.
That seems to be the idea, leading to clearer, more focused instructions for the AI, like the body's rhythm helped the mind's clarity.
Interesting. Any other theories?
Then there's a more, let's say, abstract idea put forward that the sacred place itself, the Kumano Kodo, which has, centuries of energy from pilgrims,
Right, that accumulated spiritual energy.
might actually encourage creativity.
Oh, okay, and didn't you mention dragon gods earlier?
Yes, and that's the most mystical explanation offered. The author suggests the belief that the whole process, including the amazing productivity, somehow got a boost from the blessings of these dragon gods.
So it's a mix of factors, nature, rhythm, sacred energy, maybe even divine intervention.
It seems the author attributes it to a blend of all those, yeah. But regardless of the exact cause, the article really hammers home the quality of the work produced.
So it wasn't just faster, it was better.
That's the claim. The resulting proposal and press release drafts were reportedly far more creative and of a significantly higher quality than what they'd usually manage in a standard office setting.
That combination of speed and quality is definitely compelling. And speaking of the dragon gods and the sacred stuff, the story then takes a real turn into the spiritual, doesn't it?
It does. The author describes visiting an art gallery, apparently right next to the Takahara Kumano Shrine, a gallery focused specifically on dragon deities.
Okay.
And there, they did something quite personal, quite intentional. They played the shinobu.
That's a traditional Japanese flute.
Exactly. Played it as a dedication specifically for the dragon god right there in that sacred space. They talk about feeling this deep connection, a sense of peace afterwards.
And this leads directly into something pretty extraordinary, right? What they called an early morning miracle.
Yes. Waking up at their guest house near the shrine, Guest House Selkova, they looked out at the Kumano Mountains. It was just as the sun was rising.
What did they see?
And they saw what the article interprets as this huge dragon god cloud positioned right above the mountains.
A cloud shaped like a dragon god.
Well, the description includes details like an apparent eye-like shape within it. And the cloud was glowing golden, visibly moving and changing shape as the sun hit it.
Wow. Okay. And the author's take on this was?
Pretty direct. They believed this cloud formation was a kind of thank you, maybe an acknowledgement, responding to their flute dedication from the evening before.
So a very personal, mystical experience.
For them, absolutely. And it seemed to cement this broader conviction, the idea that, well, special power resides in these ancient sacred places and might actually respond to a sincere heart, you know?
A direct experience of nature's spiritual power in Japan.
That's how they frame it. And what's really interesting is how the article then tries to link this personal spiritual moment to bigger trends.
How so?
It brings in findings from the Japan Brand Image Research based on a survey by the Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry.
MEDI, right. What did that research find?
It identified spirituality and nature as the #1 thing that foreigners visiting Japan are actually seeking today.
Huh. That's significant. So people are actively looking for that connection.
Apparently so. And the author sees their own Kumano Kodo trip not just as, a one-off personal story, but as a living example of this very thing people are searching for, this spirituality in nature.
And they connect this to modern work life.
Yes, directly.
Yeah.
The argument goes that getting away from the stress and, frankly, the noise of city life, especially in these kinds of sacred natural settings, helps people reconnect with their true selves.
Which in turn helps work.
That's the idea. This reconnection enables more creative, maybe higher quality work. They basically frame this as a potential new work model Japan could offer the world.
And this wasn't just a post-trip realization, was it?
No, apparently not. The author mentions they'd already decided to theme their Zen 2.0 International Conference around spirituality and nature.
Ah, so the trip confirmed the direction.
Exactly. They saw the Kumano Kodo experience as this profound confirmation. They express a really strong belief that fusing Japanese nature spirituality with cutting-edge tech is the key to creating, well, unprecedented value.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly back to the AI.
Yeah.
You mentioned it wasn't just about creativity, but also problem solving. There was an anecdote.
Yes, a very specific example illustrating AI as a partner. It involved an international remittance problem from Sweden.
Oh, right, the stuck payment.
Yeah, a payment for a lecture that had been held up for over a year, invoice issues, language barriers, the usual stuff that can block these things.
And conventional methods hadn't worked.
Apparently not. But then they used AI. The author used it to read the Swedish receipt and translate or convert the key info into Japanese.
And what did that reveal?
It immediately highlighted the error, which is actually quite simple but critical. The bank number and account number were listed in the reverse order.
Ah, something easily missed across languages and formats.
Yeah.
And the timing of this fix was interesting, too.
It feels almost, well, fateful in the narrative. The article notes the payment finally came through while the author was physically walking the Kumano Kodo Trail.
So again, that blend of tech solving a problem, but happening within this sacred context.
Exactly. The author interprets this success, perhaps, as a result of the combined power of AI and what they felt were the blessings of the Kumano gods.
Another point reinforcing that tech can open up possibilities.
Definitely. And it bolsters their view of AI not just as a tool, but as a genuine partner. They even mention using AI tools like NotebookLM for transcription and Claude for text conversion when writing the actual blog post about this trip.
Using AI to help describe the experience of using AI, that's quite meta.
It is. They found it helped articulate the experiences more richly.
Now, the article also introduced a specific term related to walking in nature together, right? Ambling.
Yes, ambling, a bit of a unique term.
What's the definition given?
It's defined as opening up, walking together, and making creative connections in nature. It really emphasizes the social and creative side of walking with others.
So the idea is that walking together helps break down barriers.
That's the core concept. Walking, especially out in nature, helps free up the mind, makes people more open. And walking side by side, same pace, same scenery, same air, it subtly erodes those invisible walls between people, fosters connection.
Are there examples of this ambling in action?
The article provides a couple from Kamakura, another place the author is involved with. One involves guiding overseas visitors as Zen guides doing Zen walking,
Mhm.
and this apparently led to strong connections and even starting new projects, like a large-scale one using meditation devices with a Swiss entrepreneur that came out of that shared walking experience.
So real business outcomes from walking together.
That's the implication.
Huh.
Another example mentioned is a Zazen session and walk with a European art curator. The discussion they had about Japanese aesthetics while walking later grew into an international art project.
So they see this as a repeatable process.
It seems so. They mention planning to offer formal ambling workshops. They clearly see potential in this facilitated walking experience.
Okay, so bringing all these threads together, the AI, the nature, the spirituality, the walking, what's the final takeaway here, the future vision?
Well, the deep dive really concludes with this strong conviction about fusing technology and nature.
Circling back to that lesson from the cloud, maybe, that tech and the sacred aren't enemies.
Exactly, that they can coexist, even harmonize. And the author strongly reiterates this belief that blending Japanese nature spirituality with cutting-edge technology is the way to create significant new value.
So the core discovery from this AI workation experiment
It's
was,
presented as finding harmony between things that usually seem contradictory, technology and nature, efficiency and spirituality, work and pilgrimage.
instead of choosing, you combine them.
And the article suggests they actually enhance each other, that this defines this new style of workation.
And this leads to a vision for Japan's role.
Yeah, a global one. The idea is that Japan, with its unique mix of, well, a rich natural environment, often viewed through a spiritual lens.
Where all the gods of the world dwell, as the article puts it.
Right. That, combined with its advanced technology, puts Japan in a unique spot to lead in creating value based on this spirituality and nature concept.
Offering the world a place for.
Healing, creativity, inspiration. That's the vision presented.
And the final thought on AI's role in all this.
Ultimately, the article concludes with the conviction that AI doesn't have to replace human creativity. Instead, it can actually liberate it.
Allowing us to do more uniquely human work.
That's the idea. And that this technology can harmonize with ancient spirituality to unlock entirely new possibilities, all watched over, in the author's very personal view, by the gods.
Wow. Okay, that is a really rich mix of ideas. So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening? It seems this deep dive into the Kono experience with an AI agent really challenges our standard ideas about where we work, when we work, how we work,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Absolutely. It really pushes us to think, maybe stepping outside the normal office, especially into these powerful, natural, or even sacred spaces, and intentionally using tools like AI might not just be different, but could unlock completely new levels of creativity and maybe even personal well-being.
It reframes tech, doesn't it? Not just for desk productivity, but as a partner in exploring new ways of being human, even in ancient places.
Exactly. It's more than just remote work. It's about actively seeking environments that nourish both the mind and spirit and figuring out how technology can actually support that.
And that core idea that technology and ancient spirituality aren't necessarily in conflict, that they might actually harmonize, that's pretty powerful. Makes you look differently at your phone, maybe, and at the park down the street.
It really does. And this raises an important question for you to maybe just sit with. If combining something as ancient, as deeply rooted as a pilgrimage trail, with something as cutting edge as AI can reportedly lead to these kinds of profound experiences and boosted creativity, well, what other unexpected fusions, maybe of tradition, nature, technology, might you explore in your own life or your own work to unlock some new possibilities?